This one's up. Cool. Okay,
All right.
that one is live. Awesome. So, I don't have like a solid, this is going to be STEM in a nutshell introduction, and it's always going to just be maybe an awkward, but um, sure. This is technically
Yep.
episode 2, but the first episode of actually having a guest to interview on here. So that's awesome. Taking care of the S and the T with you, right? Science and tech. So, ladies and gentlemen, when this comes around, this is Alex. Is it Palermo?
Yes.
Palermo. Sweet. Alex Palermo. So, I know you from Facebook, and as a fellow, well, I would say I'm previously fellow physics person. I think we were going about it at the around the same time, weren't we? So when
Yeah.
did you graduate?
Yep. So my undergrad was from 2015 to 2019, and then master's until 21.
Okay, yeah. So it was about the same time because
Yeah.
well, I went from physics from tail end of 2013 through like 2016, and then bailed, and then 2016 2019 was math
Nice.
with some hopping around in there. There's a gap time, and then a geology time, then back to physics time, then back to math time. There was times, but it's about the same time. I remember. Did you finish the masters?
Yep.
Or you did? Oh,
Yep. Yep. Master's
masters
is
in
done.
physics as well, right?
Yep. Yep.
So what did you?
Master.
Because masters would be like you're starting to get a little specialty with it, right? So, or was it just
Yeah.
straight physics?
So the master's was in applied physics. I was doing some research around the time, which was actually in nanoscience. So
Okay.
yeah, so mostly just basic. Yeah, I've done a bit of almost everything except for bio. I have not touched bio.
Me either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I was doing research from, I don't know, I was in that lab for about 2 years, started in 2018, left in 2020. Mostly doing some nanomaterial synthesis, even though, yeah, it was, so I was working in a wet chemistry lab at the time, despite not having taken a chemistry class since high school.
Oh wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, bit of a big learning curve
Yeah.
on there, which is, I guess I'm kind of developing a track record for just diving straight into fields that I I'm kind of familiar with,
Okay. Sure.
because that's kind of my story with AI as well. Um,
Yeah, that's left field a little bit from physics and then chemistry and nano.
yeah,
A little bit. Holy crap! Holy. Okay. So first, wait. Before I jump into that, I want to ask:
Yep.
where did you go to the same university for your bachelor's and the
yes,
master's?
yes, University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Okay. Fantastic. Did you like it?
Yep.
Enjoy it?
Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I did try to go. I did actually try to go somewhere else for a PhD, um, but yeah, no one really took me when I was finishing my undergrad. Um, yeah, part of it may have just been a time constraint because I was so laser focused on classes and research and other various part-time jobs and stuff that yeah, I think my GRE left something to be desired because I left a few of the core courses that they covered until the very end. Um,
I never
same
even
thing.
took the GRE, so
Huh?
uh,
Yeah, it sucks.
yeah, I've heard fabulous things. Remember, all my cohorts are just like these thick GRE book study books, and I was like,
Yeah,
how about I
yeah,
don't do that?
mm,
Although I didn't
yeah.
have any aspirations to go to grad school for mathematics either, so theory is not my forte
Ah,
of things. And math degree, at least at my school, was like half theory. And
mhm,
I was just like smacking my head against the wall a lot. It's like, I miss physics
mhm.
so much. I want to go back. Just let me play with equations and stuff. I don't care about that theorem. It's like I'd go to my physics classes and my professors would be like, so if you were in math, they'd show you the whole proof for this, but we're in physics, so we don't care. It's like, oh, I like your lazy approach to things.
Yeah,
Professor's always like, we're lazy. That's why we name things stupidly too. And it's like, oh
I
yeah.
I dis I distinctly remember at this one recitation session that I was running, I was helping a bunch of Physics 1 students prep for their finals. I think I was doing a momentum and impulse problem, and I multiplied both sides of an equation by dt. And I was like, okay, don't tell the math people that we're doing this because technically we're not supposed to, but
Yeah.
it just works.
Yeah.
And it turns out one of the students in there was a math major.
Oh
And
no.
she was like, yeah, I don't really think you're supposed to do that.
That's funny. That's fantastic. That's definitely happened in my physics
Yeah.
classes before too.
Yeah,
It's always
it's really funny. It's really funny, this whole rivalry between the physics and engineering and physics and math people.
Oh my god. So my school was math had its own building on the opposite side of
Mhm,
campus, and then there was the science building, which had there was a physics wing, a geology wing, and then upstairs had the biology wing and the chemistry wing. And then
mhm,
the building behind there was all the engineering students. So the engineers would all come over to the science building, and then there was a feud between the engineers and all the sciences. But then somehow we would get trickles, like we had a physics lounge, and
mhm.
we'd get trickles of like other science majors that would come in and out, and then it was a constant feud of, oh, here comes the fake sciences and what, like it's just there's like a whole ego as soon as you step into the
Mhm.
physics wing there
Oh
that
yeah,
just cracks me up to the max.
yeah.
Like my one of my parents' really good friends, she's a biochemist, and I had switched to geology for a quarter. My school is on a quarter system.
Mhm.
And I was talking to her about it, and she goes, "That's not a real science, you know that, right?" I was like, but it's fun, and we can lick rocks. It's fantastic, but which was actually
Like,
really cool. But I was the only because I had left my physics degree and went to geology to test it out,
mhm,
and it was in a geological hazards class, and my professor was having us do like a landslide and of a boulder going down in a landslide and doing like the force of it coming down. And he had just this basic force equation, and I like just barely started, like there wasn't friction or anything, and I just
mhm.
barely started to raise my hand. He looks at me and goes, "Physics? No. I know it's wrong, but no. We're gonna just deal with this right now." I was like, "Okay, hand back down. I will not say that is wrong at all. Just let it go." It was great. And then I was like, "Oh, there's not enough math," and went back to physics. And I was like, "Nope." And then to math, and then it was worse. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, derail
Yeah.
on that. So a little bit of background. Did you always want to go into the sciences? Like, what your aspirations growing up were? I'm gonna do physics or something.
Yeah, I've known that I wanted to do physics since I was about 8.
Damn. Okay.
And I am pretty much one of the only people I know that has never changed their major and
Wow.
never
Okay.
even really thought about it until I burnt out. But
I mean, burnout's a
that's
real
a
thing, you
different
know.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Mhm.
Wow. I didn't even. I mean, I didn't even know what physics was at 8. I knew astronomy. Like, I
Mhm.
wanted to be an astronomer, but I didn't know, physics was astronomy in the nutshell. But that's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's impressive.
My dad was majoring in physics as well when I was really young, so he would show me
Oh,
a
okay.
bunch of really cool stuff that, they were talking about in class.
Hmm.
And I was also homeschooled
Oh,
up
okay.
until the 5th grade. And during that time, I absolutely just fell in love with math, or specifically learning math,
Mhm.
because I'm not really sure what it is about everything else, but it's at least compared to everything else, but it's more like uh, I enjoyed learning processes more than actual things.
Okay.
And the
Sure.
way I saw it, that's all that math was just a bunch of sets of rules that you get to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd agree
Yeah.
with that. It's
Um,
foundations for everything,
yep.
which is why I like it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, math was my thing pretty much through most of school and all the way to college. And
Hmm.
when I went in, I really wanted to be a theorist. Maybe not necessarily like the whole really popular string theory thing that people were getting into at the time. But something. I didn't really know what it was at the time, and I don't know. For some reason, I never could really pick one specific subfield that I really, really wanted to dive into. Um, yeah, I know for a while, I intentionally took a few extra courses in solid state physics because it never, it always had like issues clicking with me.
Okay.
So like after the end of one course, you'd be like I passed it, I did really well, but I still don't understand it that well.
Hmm.
Like I still don't really know what's going on. So I'm just going to take another class and see what happens.
That's like a reoccurring theme, like in physics, though. Like I
Yeah.
swear that was a lot of my cohorts too. Were just like we passed and we're like, okay, so what did we learn? And on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just muddle your way through.
Yeah. Yeah. Like even for E&M and stuff,
Mhm.
and even quantum, I was like mostly fine with that because I knew, okay, if you do all of these derivations from these sets of principles, you get these results, and then we just plug and chug with those on the tests. But for solid state, it's like, why is why is there a Fermi everything again?
Yeah, that's totally fair. That's completely fair.
Yeah,
The great
yeah,
and crazy world that is physics.
yeah.
Completely. I mean, it's fun, but it's definitely I don't know, it's a whole different playing field.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've taken about every science besides biology. That was one thing that I
Mhm.
just wasn't going to touch. But physics was its own ballgame.
Yeah, yeah. It attracts a special kind of weird.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a fun weird though. Like I thoroughly enjoyed my time with all my
Hmm.
physics people. My math people wasn't fun, but the physics people are just a different. I don't know. They're just different and they're entertaining, and everybody
Hmm.
just wants to talk about the things like and try to make our way through understanding it all,
Hmm.
and just there's so many different ways directions that physics can go, and then like
Yeah,
I don't know, it's a lot more interesting than like me trying to talk to my math people. They were just not fun.
yeah, yeah.
Given the choice of sitting in a math lounge and hanging out, is like nah. I'll sit outside by myself. I hung out even in math. I still hung out in the physics lounge most of the time anyway.
Hmm.
Eh, whatever. I was
Yep.
honorary. I gotta hang out there if I wanted to. I spent enough
Mm.
time there.
Yep. I distinctly remember there was this one time my senior year, I think. We got a take-home exam for E&M 2. Our professor was just like, just get this back in my mailbox by like tomorrow morning, I think. So every right after class, that was at like, I think it ended at like 3 p.m. Everyone in the class just went up to basically what was our physics lounge, just a yeah, just an unused conference room that had a basically mini library in it. And then we just huddled in there and worked on it until like 10 p.m. that night. We like everyone was finished.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds about right.
yeah, it was great.
I had a professor like that, but his tests were like you would do that with everybody, but it
Mm-hmm.
was days on end to
Mm,
work on a test. It was, I mean, it would take you an entire day just to do one problem
mm-hmm.
if you got it. That was a whole thing
Yeah.
in and of itself with him, but another interesting dude. He was one that in our advanced physics lab we were. What were we doing with? It was inert uranium, but we were measuring like the beta and gamma particles coming off it or something like that. And he brings it in and he's like, "Okay, you're safe, but please don't lick it." And I was like, "I want superpowers. Can I be Spider-Man?" And he just like gave me the death glare and just walked away. And it's like, fine, don't answer. It's just asking. But apparently somebody has licked it. So there's a reason for that disclaimer.
Probably a geology student.
Yeah, probably. Although when I was in geology, like they said, please don't lick these because they've
Mhm.
touched lots of hands. They said if you pulled it out of like if it was freshly unearthed,
Mhm.
sure, go ahead and lick it. But for how many people have touched it, don't lick it. So
Yeah.
there's rules for even geology. Just a really fun class. Like I mean, the classes I had were incredibly fun, except for I had major issues, and I'm probably gonna misremember this completely in mineralogy classes with their prefixes for like 3D objects, like the crystalline structure, and their prefixes were not the same type of prefixes in like math and physics. Like six did not mean six; it was like a different number. So I was like getting messed up all the time.
Oh,
It's like I can't. They're not the same thing. I can't do this. I can't
yeah,
memorize
yeah,
all these things when they don't mean what I think they mean. There's disconnect there. Really cool, but yeah,
yeah.
definitely something different. So
Mm.
tell me how you got from physics to this. A little bit about the startups. I was reading this Techstars, which is Techstars funding your startup? Is that how that works?
So Techstars is an accelerator. So what that means is that they give you a small pre-seed investment, and then
Okay.
you will go in with a bunch of other startups as a cohort for about 3 months. And they give you this like really intense set of programming where you meet with a whole bunch of mentors, work really closely with the managing director, which is usually a serial entrepreneur that has, built at least one other company before. And they basically just rip your company apart and put it back together again
Okay. No
into
pressure.
something that can, yeah, into something that has a much, much better chance at at being successful.
Okay. So being
Yeah.
one of the is it 10 for the year or is it 10 for like a quarter? How do they cuz I saw there's
So
10 that they've picked
yep,
for
yep.
that.
Yeah, so it's 10 for this particular cohort.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee for 3 months, all working together with the three big partner institutions, Oak Ridge National Lab, Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a power company that provides power to like 6 different states
Oh,
in the Southeast, and the University of Tennessee system.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So how'd you go what like Armada IQ? Armada IQ
Mhm.
is your thing.
Yep.
So how did you go from I went from
Mm.
physics to I'm doing
Mm.
this is it like an AI type fleet thing?
Mhm.
How'd you go to a tech startup? Like that I wouldn't have
So
jumped from
yeah,
physics to a tech startup.
yeah. This is yeah. A year and a half ago, this would be the absolute last thing I thought I would be doing. All right. So yeah, around when I was finishing up my master's degree, I was I was pretty burnt out at the time, just
Mhm.
mostly just because I chronically overworked myself. Um, yeah, so I was like, okay, just get me out of here, and I'm just going to get a job probably as a data analyst or a data scientist and just figure out what to do from there.
Mhm.
All right. So I started, I started teaching myself Python, started playing with Excel, Tableau, all the usual items in a data scientist job description, started teaching myself those, working on a few projects. Spring 2021, started the job search. It's going, Not that great.
COVID.
I was, huh?
COVID.
Yeah,
A little
yeah,
hard for jobs there. Yeah.
yeah.
Fair.
I was trying to like systematically reach out to people on LinkedIn just to build out the network and stuff.
Mhm.
I went to this like alumni panel for data science and decided to reach out to one of the guys on that panel, seeing if he might be able to be a good connection to get my foot in the door at a job or something. So I reached out to him and he was like, yeah, so I'm actually getting ready to quit my job so I can go and commercialize the research that I've been doing for my part-time PhD. And
Okay.
then we had a Zoom call after that just so I can kind of get an idea of what he was doing. And his PhD qualification exam was, the way he described it at the time, was an IQ test for self-driving cars.
Okay.
Because the thing is, when self-driving cars are in development, they're obviously going through a whole lot of testing, but after they're actually deployed, what kind of monitoring are they going to have? You know, like obviously the company that developed the vehicle is going to have a lot of inside knowledge
Right.
on the into how the internals of the car is working and where it's messing up, but what is the fleet going to know, right? And maybe even this fleet has several different maybe it even runs autonomous vehicles built by a few different manufacturers,
Mhm.
and maybe it's even integrated with a human fleet, right? It's like a partial transition to fully autonomous.
Uh-huh.
So how do you track how safe those those autonomous vehicles are being when all you have are the tools that you normally have for human driven vehicles?
Fair.
So
Okay.
like so like super high level telematics data, um, maybe a smart dash cam giving you some high level triggers, and another internal dash cam that's checking if the driver is distracted,
Oh. Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's really where the idea for Armada IQ came around, was to basically we're trying to measure how safe a driver is being, whether this driver is a human or a robot. We're trying to determine how safe this driver is being just by watching them drive for a really long time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this be something that would be implemented for like trucking, or would it be
Mm-hmm.
even broken down even further to, I don't know, like taxi services, even
Yeah.
wondering how.
So like trucking, delivery, utility fleets, it's a big one. Right now, we're trying to right now we're looking for pilot opportunities with human driven fleets, obviously because not a lot of fleets are integrating autonomous vehicles right now.
Yeah.
But we're trying to, yeah, but right now in the immediate future, we're trying to help um, commercial fleets just get better safety data and get better safety insights that they don't have right now.
I imagine it'd be super useful for like in the winter in weather conditions.
Hmm.
You always see there's like a 18 wheeler on its side or jackknifed because there's
Yeah.
snow or ice or something. And what it'd be what they could have done, like how did they end up jackknifing or flipping
Hmm.
versus like it's not just, I mean, it's not just ice. Obviously it could be, but there could have been something preventative to stop something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And this thing is built to answer questions like how much is your behavior changing given different weather conditions,
Mhm.
right? Like like are you changing your behavior enough in icing conditions to ensure that you don't crash like that?
Right.
You know, so stuff like speeds, follow distance, maybe like how aggressively you're taking turns, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Proper turn
Yep.
taking is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing. Decrease and accelerate halfway through, and then you may
Hmm.
carry
Yeah.
on your way. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. I know my car has a nice little safety warning on taking turns at the top that it's
Nice.
a tippable car, which I didn't know until recently, and I've
Mm.
driven it for 16 years. That so
Mm.
all to do that, would you be contacting like certain um, companies, and do you have to put like sensors on the vehicles to measure all those things, or is it something internally? Because I know vehicles now and everything have so much computerization to them, but I
Yeah.
don't know because my car is a 1999 car. So,
So we are working, so we are trying to work with the dash cam footage that they already have.
okay.
So we are trying to do software only, no other plastic boxes on the vehicle. Um, Eventually, we're expecting that all commercial vehicles are going to have some kind of integrated camera system because that's what all the new vehicles are coming up with now. And we expect that most of these manufacturers should start coming up with some kind of API access. Maybe like some kind of, yeah, I know, maybe like some kind of marketplace for your driving data,
Hmm.
something like that. Um,
So, what would be the difference of? I mean, would you implement it with? What would be different for like so I'm thinking like all I can think of right now is a Tesla out there being
mhm,
like we have self-driving
mhm.
cars. Like, so how would you be able to if a self-driving car messed up, like you'd be able to look at the logs and figure out why it messed up if there's something in there? Because wasn't there a Tesla that was like supposed to their autopilot and it straight up smashed another car like head on? It was like a year or two ago when it was first rolling out. I remember people were in a
I
hissy in like California or something about it.
Yeah, I've heard that there have been some like pretty major slip ups with the autopilot when people aren't paying attention. So
Would that be its own category, separate from like an autonomous car and then a people driving car, and then you have the integrated part where there's someone in there that's supposed to kind of be paying attention but isn't paying attention? They get two variables there.
yeah, like technically Teslas aren't fully self-driving.
Right.
So one of the conditions to use full self-driving, at least in their terms, is that you have to be ready to take the wheel at any time. Because really legally speaking, it's more like a really souped up adaptive cruise control.
Okay.
But yeah, back to what you were saying about the behaviors of the autopilot. I've heard that in a few recent releases of autopilot, there have been more and more instances of phantom braking on the highway, where the car will start braking for no apparent reason.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, yeah, and the kinds of things, so where we would come in is that we would look at a whole lot of footage from these two different versions of autopilot and see if there are any common conditions around which there are phantom braking. Right.
Okay.
A few years ago, before Tesla switched to fully to fully vision only, when they were using a sonar and radar, I think there are some issues where they would encounter phantom braking when the vehicle goes under a bridge.
Weird.
They realized that is because the ultrasonic sensor, I think, which does close range distance, doesn't have any vertical resolution.
Oh.
So if the ultrasonic sensor sees a bridge ahead of you, it can't tell that it's above the road or on the road. So it's going
Oh
to
no.
think, so the ultrasonic sensor is going to be telling the car that there's an object on the road in front of it. So it's going to start braking until the vision system sees that the road is actually clear and they can keep going. And apparently that was why in one version that was phantom braking.
Yikes. Big yikes. Oh my god.
Yeah, but yeah, even beyond that, the main hindrance for self-driving cars right now, the reason that they're not in mass deployment is because there's this long tail of driving scenarios that no one can really predict and that are super, super hard to test. Because it's like it's almost an unbounded number of possible scenarios
Yeah.
that you would need to test for,
Right.
you know? And yeah, no one has really any good, I don't think anyone really has any reliable ideas yet on how to get a robot to learn all of those and to even navigate any of those scenarios safely when it does encounter those.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, if it's infinite, you can't. So at what point do you just say we've covered the most likely scenarios and then all the wild cards will just. It's a wild card, and we'll just figure it out when it happens. I mean,
Yeah.
like an animal running, what happens when a deer runs in front of the road? I imagine that would be a common one.
Mm-hmm.
Or a car ahead of you suddenly braking or weather.
Mm-hmm.
But what would a wild one be? Just like you're cruising along and this car just comes like a bat out of hell screeching from a side street. Like that's not entirely
There,
predictable. I don't.
I think there was,
Someone throwing a rock from an overpass and that's I mean that's something that happened here a few times
yeah,
unfortunately. Like
yeah. I heard of this issue that Uber had with their self-driving cars, where whenever it would go down this certain part of the city, the internals would just freeze. They would just get completely overloaded. And the reason why was because they were passing a bike rack. So there were a bunch of empty bicycles on there. It thought that they were a bunch of actual bicyclists. So they were trying to run the trajectory planning algorithm on all of those bikes,
oh no.
and it was overloading the system.
Oh, so even though the bikes are just sitting there, they're not even
Yes.
moving. Like it doesn't.
Yes.
So do the
Yeah.
programs not register? Like why would it not pick up if it notices a car parked on the side of the road is just a car parked on the side of the road? Why did it not pick up a bicycle as just a bicycle on the side of the road? I don't.
Apparently, it hasn't seen enough of those cases.
Oh my god.
And another thing is that, like, if we just see a bike rack full of empty bikes, we're not going to be thinking about how those bikes are going to move,
No.
right? Because we know there aren't people on there,
Yeah.
so they're not going to move.
So okay. So question: does it not the
Mhm,
programs running that like I will say I don't know jack about
mhm.
cars or about the AI programs in cars. I don't know anything about anything. What do the programs not like the car is moving, it knows that the car is moving, but do they not notice that the other things around them are moving, or they just notice there's an object? Like, do they not have that frame of reference that this is also moving in a certain direction towards the car or
Um,
anywhere? It just says object, object, danger, Will Robinson, like cruising down the street.
so so the way these kinds of systems work is that there are usually several different kinds of models running at one time. All right.
Okay.
So you would have a model doing lane finding. right? Lane finding and boundary detection, figuring out where the car is allowed to go, right? Or figuring out where all the lane markings are and then using those to figure out where the car can go. There is object detection. So at this spot of the image, there's a person. At this spot, there's a car. At this part, there's a bike. And then there could be, and then there might be a separate model for for like trajectory planning. I think it's called. I don't think that's the word for it, but I'm blanking on the actual term for it. But basically, given that I see this object in this context, where do I think it's going to go? Right? Like if I see an intersection, if the lane finding says that we're in an intersection right now, lane finding also says that there's a crosswalk ahead, and my object detector says there's a person right here. What is the probability that they're going to try to go and cross the street? And if that probability is super high, then I'll tell the car to start slowing down. Right? And that's the kind of thing that I was checking for those bikes, because it saw a bunch of bikes on the side of the road. It thought that those bikes would have a chance of moving in front of the vehicle. So it was trying to predict where those bikes were going to go.
Okay.
But it didn't have that, it didn't have that contextual information that these are bikes locked up on a rack without any people on them, so they're not a factor.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the fix for that was literally just if I see a whole bunch of if I see a big collection of bikes that aren't moving, just ignore that.
Okay, fair. I mean,
Yeah.
what if? So it would have to notice if it was moving, because otherwise, what if you have a pack of bicyclists cruising down the street?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be like bike plus person.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
There's a body.
Or maybe they're just saying bike and then assuming there's a person on there.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Okay,
Yeah.
that would make
Yeah.
sense.
It really depends. It really depends on what your model is trained on. And what you want to teach it to recognize.
So are all like you have all these different companies that are trying to come up with this AI, and then your company is having to monitor how good the AI is working. Like, but do all these companies have their own type of AI? So then yours has to be modified what they're looking at. Like one might think of more scenarios and another might not consider them at all. Or I guess at some point they all have to think of the same thing, right? Like, what if an AI fleet comes out and they notice the bicyclist, but another AI fleet comes out and they don't know what a bike is?
See, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're trying to measure from the vehicle's behavior.
Okay.
Because, yeah, because these self-driving car companies aren't going to, show the world exactly how all their algorithms work and how
they're
they
not
were
going to be
trained.
friends with each other and share. No, definitely not.
Exactly. I mean, they have their own internal monitoring system that tells you how well they're doing, but there's no like real system agnostic way to compare, say, a Tesla and a Waymo.
What's a Waymo?
So Waymo was spun off of Google's self-driving car program,
Oh, okay.
and they are actually doing fully autonomous robo-taxis in a suburb of Phoenix.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah. In the certain part of Phoenix, you can actually go on the Waymo app, summon a taxi, and take a ride in a car that has nobody in the front seat.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, it seems cool, and then at the same time, very worrisome. And I would like the cool factor to amp up. So less worried about that. I mean, that'd be super cool. Like I would love to have an autonomous car so I could just sleep on the car ride. Like if I have to drive across the state, I would love to just sleep because I get super motion sick, and if I sleep, I don't get motion sick. Boom, car drives itself. I sleep.
Yep.
That'd be amazing. Ah, So at some point, because I don't know if it's actually implemented already. Like I don't follow these things, but
Mhm.
uh, what about shipping? Would that be something that would have to cross over into shipping as well? Because I swear I read something about them and autopilot shipping, like huge freights across the ocean and not having to have like a full crew manning it.
Oh, like shit, like actual
Cargo
ships.
ships, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, cargo ships.
Okay, that I haven't looked into. Yeah.
But this could be something
Um,
that could. It would have to be totally rebuilt. Of course, there's no bicycles out in the ocean. I would hope. You
yeah.
never know,
Yeah.
but
It would be, but what I can say is that it would be much easier to build an autonomous boat as
yeah.
opposed to an autonomous vehicle.
Mhm.
So we probably could see autonomous ships before we see AVs fully deployed. Um, yeah, I've also heard that there are some companies developing autonomous trains
Oh,
as well.
I mean, I feel like that would be super easy because it's just on a track.
Yeah.
It doesn't have as many hazards as a car does. I mean, I know there's derailment issues or
Mhm.
like ice over the rails causes issues too, but I wouldn't feel worried about hopping on an autonomous train at all, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to hit something, you don't have the time to react in the first place,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
no. If a
There's
train's going at 50 and a car pulls up, it's not
yeah,
gonna
there's
stop.
nothing you can do. Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Mm.
I'm okay with that. I'm not in control of the train anyway when I ride it, so whatever. It's fantastic. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes complete sense to me though. Because I heard it's actually, I was reading some article about like people working on the trains having to be
Hmm.
conductors and stuff, that it's
Hmm.
like a massive pain in the ass type of thing. Like just, you can't just call out or anything and you're just traveling anywhere and there's a shortage of people doing it anyway. So why not automate it? Although I know people
Hmm.
hate automated things because it takes the jobs and whatever, but yeah, that's a
Yeah,
thing.
that's a whole nother
That's a whole
discussion.
nother thing.
Yeah, that is not my domain.
No, but you will be furthering the automation. See, you're kind of, well, you're not really to blame, but you're helping the blame. I'm just playing devil's advocate
Yeah.
there or something.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally for it. I mean,
I
why
gotcha.
the hell not?
Hmm.
It's from what I hear, even with like trucking fleets and everything, it's, I mean, who wants to drive for 18 hours a day? And you don't get paid very well either for having to do
Yeah.
that. And that's, I would consider that fairly hazardous, having to drive across the country.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Driving across
I
the
think
city, and I'm like, oh my god, why can't you drive right? Like trying to drive across the country nonstop like that, awful.
yeah. Yeah.
I would want help a little bit.
Yeah, actually, back to that trucking point, there are actually some companies out there that are looking into building autonomous convoys.
Okay.
So what you would do is park a bunch of so get humans to drive trucks onto the shoulder of the highway, line them all up, put a person in the front, in the front truck.
Mhm.
All the trucks behind them will be autonomous, and those trucks following, their only job would be to follow the one ahead of them. So there would just be one
Wild.
person in the
Okay.
truck leading everyone, and then a bunch of autonomous trucks following you.
Huh. That's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and that would be like a highway only domain, which is much easier for AVs to handle
Hmm.
because there's none of this craziness with the city,
Yeah.
and it's only one person that's controlling this fleet of maybe a dozen or more trucks following them.
Hmm. That would be really cool. I mean, they wouldn't be able to put a ton of trucks there though, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to be driving down the highway and have like 10 of them in line, right? That could create a bottleneck of some sort. I mean, trucks go slower than, a little car zooming past. Just thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be. Mm. Yeah, I'm not really sure how well a super long convoy
Hmm.
would interact with traffic like that, because if it gets too long, then you would probably have cars forcing themselves in between them,
Yeah.
and
So how far
yeah,
would the
it's
distance
very
be where
much.
they would disconnect or something, like not noticing?
Mm,
I don't know how
yeah.
far their system goes to visually see, like, oh no, the truck ahead of me is too far. I will stop now. Like,
Yeah.
help, I'm a truck. I'm lost. Find your little truck on the side of the road. Yeah,
Yep.
something like that.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's really, really cool, though. Like, trying,
Yeah.
I, I don't know why, it makes me think of Asimov, and like, you have to keep these programs in check
Hmm.
of themselves. What happens? You might not have the answer for this, but what happens if like this autonomous, I'll just say vehicle, I don't know if it's a car or truck or whatever, but is going down and it just, can they just short circuit and just not work all of a sudden? Do these things have failsafes in them? I mean, I guess that's kind of
Um.
like them stopping themselves because of a bridge. Ah, bridge, help.
Yeah. I don't know. I imagine they would have to, right? If they see a situation, because right now, if a Tesla gets confused, it just beeps and has the driver take over.
Right.
Um,
Not fully autonomous. There's nothing out there that's fully autonomous yet. Right? Oh, except for those taxis. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And even then, depending on who you talk to, not everyone would call that full autonomy.
Oh,
And we can get to that in a minute. But yeah, I imagine if an autonomous vehicle sees a situation that it can't handle, there's got to be some kind of fallback that'll just let it pull over into a safe spot. But the problem is, if it's confused about the environment, it may not know where a safe spot is.
yeah. It might not just want to pull over on the side of the road and wait for the issue to dissolve itself.
Yeah.
That would be one of those wild card scenarios
Ex-
that we can program
exactly.
for.
Exactly. Like, how would you have the vehicle pull into a safe space away from any traffic that might hit it if it has no idea what to do,
Yeah.
when it has no idea what to do, and it's
Yeah.
completely, yeah, and it's shot.
Oh,
Yeah, that's,
poor AI. So confused.
yeah. Uh,
That'd be scary. How far away do you think that sort of thing would be? Like, so like your type of programming or the IQ thing, testing it, I imagine they'll have like tester cars come out and then your company does that sort of testing to make sure the programs are running right. And then if everything does seem to go right, then they would actually start to implement them on a regular basis out in the real world, or they would start implementing them concurrently while testing them, would be the goal.
so right now our strategy is to focus on working with human driven fleets and really understanding what those safety managers look for, and then building our reporting to answer those kinds of questions. As
Okay.
we work with more and more fleets, we're going to know more and more about exactly what they look for. And yeah, really the biggest challenge that we're going to face is really digging into understanding what everyone needs to know
Mhm.
and figuring out exactly how to combine the signals that we're getting in a way that can give us a safety indicator. Um, and really, the only way to do that is to just start working with fleets and start getting feedback.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how
because
far ahead
we're
is this gonna will you be implementing? Like, do you have a projection of how far it'll be till you start implementing what you're working on?
um I mean, we're already messing with dash cam footage for our personal vehicles
Yep.
for testing purposes. Like uh yeah, we think we might have some good opportunities for pilot programs while we're in Techstars. And then that can give us some good initial feedback that we'll use to keep iterating on. And, and yeah, hopefully we can actually be deployed in the fleet in the next few months.
Mhm.
Definitely this year,
Right.
absolutely. But
Huh.
yeah, yeah, because like it doesn't. The thing with startups is that you have to start getting customers when you're still. You have to start
Ye-
working with customers when you're still kind of embarrassed
yeah, you kind of have to
about the
build a plane
quality.
and fly it at
Yeah.
the same time. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like
I did my time with the tech startup
yeah.
this last year.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. It's
It is
definitely
wild.
a whole realm that I don't think a lot of people realize. It's not like you have this full fleshed out thing right from the get go. It's trial and error building it up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you know anyone that remembers when Uber first launched?
No,
Like first launched?
no.
How
I
about
can
Facebook?
think of Uber as far back as like 2014, 2015, only
Mm-hmm.
because that was the first time that I took it. But before that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Mm. Yeah.
And then at what point did that evolve into Uber Eats? I don't know that either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I have no idea.
No, yeah, nobody remembers when these things first launch.
No,
They just remember when they start scaling and doing really well.
true.
So
That's true.
yeah.
That's very true. Is there a lot of people working on this sort of thing right now? Do you know? Like other people, like other companies working on that? So it's a competitive market or it's a freshly new sort of market?
So there are like smart dash cams out there that like already integrate with fleets. Um, so let's see, a few of them are like Keep Truckin', Samsara, Ligix, Netrodyne, Nago, a few of them. They basically sell you a dash cam that has a computer inside it that runs those algorithms and then uploads the results to the cloud. Um, and they give Yeah, so they give a lot of the high level metrics. So stuff like lane departures, tailgating, uh, like generally aggressive driving,
Mm-hmm.
running red lights or stop signs, stuff
Yep.
like that. Um,
And
and
the
then
California
also,
stop.
mhm.
Is that I don't know. Does everybody call where you just like kind of slow way down at the stop sign, then keep going? Is the California stop? At least that's what it's called here.
That's what they call it here.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
awesome. Poor California.
yeah, yeah. But we're not really out to compete. I
Safety.
don't really, yeah, like I don't want to say that they're not competitors, but we're
Yeah.
not looking to compete with what's already out there. We're looking to enhance
Okay.
what's
Fair.
already there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I dig it. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's uh, applicable more than just cars out there. Who said there's the cargo freights out there, trains.
Mhm.
Ooh, this might be a little bit of stretch, but it's the only other vehicle that I can think of. But planes, because they have
So,
their own sort of automated system too. Do they already
mm,
have failsafes like that where they check their systems? Like, I don't actually know. I've never been on a plane.
mm,
I will go ahead and say this. So, never been on a plane to know how that whole thing works out.
I have a student pilot certificate. I am like halfway to getting my license, but I stopped in 2017 because I ran out of money and
Yeah,
time. And
yeah,
I'm
you were busy.
yeah, I'm just waiting for the right combination of time and money to actually finish it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the usual workflow on the airliners is that the pilots will do the takeoff by hand, and then about a minute after takeoff, they'll turn on the autopilot, and then after that, it's really just a monitoring job. And
Oh,
they might go back to hand flying when they're like 5 miles from the runway on approach and land it by hand.
oh,
But there are some approaches out there now. They're called the Cat 3 ILS approaches, where the plane will basically land itself.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Normally they only do that in really, really bad weather.
oh, really? They wouldn't want to
Like,
take over in bad weather?
um,
I mean, that seems like like opposite of the cars going crazy, so you want to take over. Like that's just the opposite in a plane. You trust the
so
system, not the pilot.
so the thing about aviation is that there are much fewer edge cases that you have to deal with. So I don't think we're going to see fully autonomous aircraft anytime soon, because the real work in aviation now is down to good decision making. So just exercising good judgment in the moment and not
Oh,
doing anything stupid to get yourself killed.
okay. Words to live by, if there was any. Okay, that's cool. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Airlines are super, super good about that now
huh? Huh.
after having lots of lessons written in blood over the
Yeah,
years.
is that part of the whole? What was with the? What was the Boeing issue? And those planes aren't allowed to fly.
Oh,
That was
yeah,
just on the news because Boeing is here. Like it's
okay.
Washington, Boeing.
So, yep. So you're talking about the Max, right?
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, I know. It's
Mhm.
just like their really big one, and they were having issues with the. I thought it was with the computer systems flying
Mhm.
it within there. So that would be the computer is wrong, and we need to know why it's wrong.
So, all right, here's what happened with that. So, the Boeing 737 Max is basically a derivative of an airframe that has been around since the 1960s, right? 1960, mid 1960s, I think Boeing came out with the first iteration of the 737. And over the years, they have essentially redesigned the airframe to be like bigger, more efficient, stronger, more technologically advanced, stuff like that.
Uh huh.
Anyway, originally the 737 was meant to be a regional airliner.
Oh.
All right. So like half-hour to 2-hour flights.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they're being used for regional flights up to like transatlantic flights. All right. So a much bigger range of use cases. Um, One of the engineering problems that they had was that the original 737 that made the landing gear super small. So the plane would, um, so the fuselage would be close to the ground. So it's easier, so they can put smaller stairs up by the doors when they're at smaller airports.
Huh.
When they started upgrading the airframe, the engines started getting too big for the aircraft. So in the next gen versions of the 737, you would see these flat bits at the bottoms of the engines. They did that so that it would have enough clearance between the ground. They wound up putting a bunch of the machinery in the engines on the sides, whereas it's normally on the bottom.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah, quick kind of engineering hack to make
Okay.
it work. On the 737 Max, they wanted to put even bigger engines on there, right? Because bigger engines are more efficient.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Bigger. So they want bigger, more efficient engines.
Uh-huh.
So they decided to push them forward under the wings, right? So most of the engine is actually ahead of the wing, and a lot of the cowling is actually popping up above the wing if you look at it from the side.
Okay.
That affected the flight dynamics quite a bit, especially in cases where it's like taking off or landing. There are times where that shift in balance will cause the aircraft to pitch up more than you want it to.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not good, because if it pitches up too much, you're going to stall, lose all your lift, and then
Hmm.
crash. So obviously no one wants that.
Yeah.
So they built this, yeah. So they built a safeguard in the computer that senses that, okay, if I'm pitching too high, I'm just going to push down on the controls to try to fix it. Okay. The way that it does that is it watches this thing called angle of attack. Angle of attack is the angle between the wing and the incident airflow.
Okay.
All right. Big angle of attack equals stall
Yeah.
equals lose all your lift. So if the angle of attack goes above a certain point, nose down, avoid stall, everybody's happy. There are 3 angle of attack sensors on the 737 Max. This system that they made, that Boeing put in, called MCAS, used 1.
Um. So
Yeah,
if there's three, why would they only use one?
I don't know.
Who's in charge? Ah. Okay.
So there were 2 incidents where that one angle of attack sensor was faulty. So right after takeoff, the plane started nosing down for no apparent reason. And yeah,
Wow. If only we had more sensors. Goodness.
if only they used the sensors they actually had.
Who would have thunk putting all those there would be useful? Gee golly gosh. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, basically 2
Okay.
737 Maxes crashed because of that. One of them almost crashed, but the pilot in command, I think, knew someone at Boeing that knew about it and knew of a way to turn it off.
Oh.
Because yeah, because like it wasn't even that bad that there was a system relying only on one sensor. What the real kicker is, they didn't tell the pilots about it.
Wait, so the pilots thought all the sensors were being monitored and used?
No, the pilots didn't even know that there was this system that would push the nose down if the angle of attack got too high.
Oh, my god.
And do you want to know why they didn't know about it?
Oh, okay. Do I?
They wanted Boeing wanted the pilots that flew the old version of the 737 to be able to fly the Max with minimal crossover training.
So they were lazy about it.
They were trying to save airlines money.
Oh, as if they're not billion-dollar industries already. Cry me a damn river, airlines. Oh my god. Yeah, that's even worse that there's someone there that was like, oh, this is a problem. I guess I maybe let this little pilot over here
Mm,
know, like, hello, Challenger.
mm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, because there's the engineers going, hey, we got an issue with his O ring. Oh, we're not gonna say anything about it though, and oh, whoops, daisy, we had an incident.
Yeah.
If only we really knew about it. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to your damn engineers, people.
I don't know, maybe
They
they only
they
built it, not a big
yeah,
deal or
they
anything.
might
Really.
know a thing or two.
I I would hope so. Wow. That's okay. So now their whole thing is that they're trying to make, what was that,
Mm.
MCAT
Yeah,
or
it was
something system,
MCAS.
MCAS, to actually use all their little, I lost my words,
Yeah.
you know, the three
Yeah.
sensors. They're using all the sensors now instead
Yeah.
of just being like, we have one, which may or may not work all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what the exact fix was, but it was probably something along those lines.
Oh
Plus
my goodness.
actually including it in the pilot training as well.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Right,
Mm.
right.
Yeah.
Humans. You have to let the humans know.
Yeah, because the thing is, if they required, they didn't want to cross the line where flying the MCAS would require a whole new type rating, because that would require any pilots that wanted to fly it to be taken off the job for potentially several weeks and have like a whole bunch of time in a super expensive flight simulator
Uh huh.
learning how to fly that thing.
Right.
So they wanted to, yeah, so they wanted to try to make them as similar as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
What's funny is I don't think Boeing even planned on building the Max in the first place.
What?
Early in the 2010s, American Airlines was talking about the new planes that they were going to order, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to order, you know, a couple hundred of the new version of the 737 that Boeing is going to build."
Oh, and Boeing's
And
like, oh,
Boeing,
I guess we better build this thing
I
that they
get,
want.
yeah,
Oh my god. I no communication. Communication,
yeah,
people, is key. Ah.
yeah,
Wow. That's fantastic. What a mess.
yeah. Boeing is not in good shape right now.
No, no, they're not. Yeah, no, they're still
Mm.
getting slammed in the news. Like, you know, it's a
Yeah.
local thing. I think we have here, because I'm on the other side of the state, but we have some sort of airplane manufacturing parts facility here
Mhm.
at our airfield. I don't remember what it was now, though. They do space shuttle parts or something as well. Random weird things out in the middle of fields in the middle of nowhere in this city.
Mhm.
Is basically what that is. Yeah.
Mm.
Like I said, I've never been in an airport, been on a plane. The closest I saw is I happened to be in Seattle at this random weird little kind of sketchy park. I
Mhm.
don't know. Yeah, that was a thing. And I look out and there's like the Boeing building facility, and like they have
Mhm.
these massive doors open. You can see parts in there. It was super cool. I
Mhm.
was like, oh
Yeah.
look, there's a plane thing there. Like, but that's the closest
Like,
I've been to a
yeah.
plane
Yeah. Just keep in
across the
mind,
bay.
this, yeah. Just keep in mind, despite what we said about the 737, flying by air is incredibly safe,
Yeah, right, right. And
but it's kind of miserable.
I gather. I mean, all my
Yeah.
it's just what I see on TV and people's accounts. I don't.
Yeah.
I've never gone anywhere far enough that I have to justify being on an airplane.
Hmm.
If I can't drive, I mean, I've never been out of the Pacific Northwest.
Mm.
I've been to Canada, which is just a short drive. I'm less than
Hmm.
100 miles from the border, so that's a short drive. And Oregon's a short drive, and then Idaho is a drive. That's as far as I've ever been. No plane needed.
Yeah.
Not really. But I think at some point from might end up taking a plane to Seattle some point for a convention, but it's only like a 40-minute plane ride. If that might be 30 minutes even,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
just from here to there, just across Washington. Not that far
They'll
to go.
spend they'll spend more time on approach to the airport than in cruise.
Super.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
completely terrifying, actually more than the plane itself. Just trying to navigate. And am I doing everything right? What's a TSA agent? No, I don't.
Yeah.
That thought scares me. Cool.
Yeah, it's
That's super cool, though. I mean,
yeah.
well, I didn't know like fully all the details about the Boeing thing either.
Hmm.
That's horrible, but also
Yeah.
interesting. But this technology that you're building is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to build. Like my original plan was to get a job in data science, start teaching myself stuff about machine learning and deep learning, and eventually, eventually work my way up to working on like deep learning projects and stuff. I was just thrown into the deep end. It is
Swim,
great.
sink or
Yeah.
swim.
Yep.
I
I
seem to
am,
swimming good at least.
yeah, yeah. I am jumping out of an airplane and building the parachute on the way down.
Legit. It's legit. I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds cool. I mean, I wish I was even remotely good at anything that had to do with a computer, because I'm not at all. I didn't know that was a prerequisite that you had to be good
Mhm.
at that in math and physics.
Mm.
Like,
Well, I guess it's, I mean, if you want to be a theorist, probably um experimental work, not a whole lot.
oh,
Like I am,
I would have figured it'd be the other way around.
yeah, yeah. A lot of the really active stuff happening in theory is in computational physics.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah. Like yeah, my university actually has a whole building for bioinformatics, and several of our physics professors do like kind of, like cross, what is it, interdisciplinary
mhm,
research in that.
cool.
Like my quantum mechanics professor was doing, I think he's doing research in, what is it, in protein folding, I think. Yeah, one of his grad students was doing simulations on how this certain, ah, shoot, I can't remember now. He was doing research on how this certain protein wiggles,
Okay,
and really the key to that is if you can understand how proteins move, and I guess where like all the interesting stuff happens that can help you in drug discovery, which big pharma will pour a lot of money into.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's this whole, yeah, so basically there's this supercomputer on our campus, and most of the res yeah, most of the researchers in that building are using it to do molecular dynamics.
Cool.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything remotely cool at my university. There was no research in physics and none in math either.
Ouch.
Yeah, little ouch there. Yeah,
Yeah.
just for how I ended up being like, I guess I have to learn graduate statistics in order to do my graduating research project. That's what I did. I had to learn some graduate statistics because I picked doing something that apparently undergrad stats does not do.
Ouch.
I was totally cool. I mean, I had
Yeah.
to learn everything on the fly. I had to learn programming and
Mhm.
just, it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I barely know undergraduate statistics.
I love statistics.
Yeah.
It's
I got
so fun. Everybody hates it.
yeah. Yeah. I feel I still my biggest regret is not taking more math classes.
Hmm.
I got really good at calculus. I got a taste of abstract algebra, and then
Oh.
I didn't have time to take the second course.
Oh. See, a lot of
Yeah.
my physics pals, they took a lot of math. Like, because I think we only had to do calculus, diffie Q, linear algebra,
Mhm.
I think that was really all that was required, but everybody took extra than that too, like
Yeah.
PDEs and advanced, because there was calculus and then there was like this really crazy advanced
Mhm.
calculus that only people who were clearly insane took. There's like 3 students in that class or something like that.
What I was told was that those classes, the like advanced calc classes, are just taking everything you learned in calc 1 through 4 and proving it.
I don't know. I didn't touch that. I was not going near it. Wasn't gonna happen. I decided to take what I needed, and like
Hmm.
I didn't really enjoy advanced linear algebra. I tried to take as many like modeling type math classes that I could,
Hmm.
and I can't remember a lot now. It's been a really long time, unfortunately. I remember there was classes. Doggo, if he's really loud, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Um, yeah, I went strictly as much math application that I could take is what I stuck with,
Mhm.
and then a
Yeah.
few programming classes. Oh my god, my dog, this one, really, really hates delivery vehicles, and there's a delivery truck
Ah.
outside. So he's going crazy. He's really good at hearing that. Oh yeah, that's definitely a delivery truck. I can't see it, but I can hear it, and I'm gonna go crazy till it's gone.
Can he differentiate a delivery truck versus other kinds of trucks?
Yes, he does. Sorry, he's barking so loud
Wow.
right now. No, he can tell the delivery trucks different than like a big diesel truck, even totally different. And then he can pick out my
Wow.
car from everybody else's car because we're in an apartment complex, so there's constantly
Hmm.
cars moving around and everything. But because my car has like there's the hubcap on one of the wheels is rickety, so it
Hmm.
goes clink 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 when I drive.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry to freaking dog. Um, but he can tell when I'm driving because he can hear the clink 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 clink, and he'll
Hmm.
start barking before I even get close.
Oh wow.
He's obnoxiously smart
Cool.
in the most annoying ways,
Mm.
like right now.
Yeah.
Truck's just sitting there. Please move. Please. Love God. Is this where it would be really handy if I just had a room and I could just close the door
Hmm. Hmm.
and he could just bark his little heart out?
Yeah.
Bless that dog. Drive me crazy. No, sorry. Anyway, I love statistics and that's the only thing that I care about. That's all I've done with, I mean, my whole goal in life is I did statistics for my graduating project, and then I've pretty much just been continuing to teach myself how to program with R and Python since then, and doing more statistics and more,
All right.
as much as I can make sense out of. Like it's a little like I'm just doing it for shits and giggles because I want to learn it, and then I'm like, great, now what am I doing with it?
Yeah.
Other than
Yeah. I'm.
yeah, not much. I've like because I was using it in applications with like climate
Mhm.
and the precipitation temperature trends, and then I was doing wildfire trends because Fire Nation up here,
Mhm.
all that good shit. It's fantastic, which is really cool actually. I mean, at least seeing how it used to be like, here's a little fire here back in time. I could only get like back to like 1900, I think is as far as I could get the records to go. Um, but yeah, it's just like a little one here, a little one here, and then you get to about the 70s and 80s, and it's like there's red everywhere. Oh, sad days, but yeah. And then
Yeah.
using that to project how the future is going to look. That's the funnest part, which you don't learn in
Mhm.
undergrad stats. That's the one thing is time series modeling,
Mm.
which is
Oh
really fun.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love time series. Because so
Do
far
you have
everything
it?
I've modeled has like been super spot on too, which is fantastic. So it's a
Oh,
good model.
interesting.
Dog fur.
Where did you learn the time series stuff?
What do you mean? That was just the
Like,
extra shit that I had to learn from a textbook my advisor handed me. It was like, "Oh, you want to do that for your project? Here's a book. Figure it out." I was like, "Okay, cool." And
how
that's
good
how I
was
learned
that?
it.
How good was that textbook?
Uh, Pretty good actually. Do you want me to send it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Pretty sure I saved it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because like time series and Bayesian statistics are like my two biggest gaps in statistics, and I really need it.
Those are what my professor told me that because we didn't. I took 3 stats classes as an undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. There's so 4. There's intro, and then there's stats 1, 2, 3 that are the calculus-based statistics classes, and then you don't learn. That's as far as it goes in
Yeah.
undergrad. But the Bayesian and the time series, she said, are generally um, once you graduate from undergrad and go to grad school is usually where that pops up from. So
That that's the most useful. That's
yeah,
probably the most useful stuff in statistics. Why don't they teach that in undergrad?
I don't know if it's that they because undergrad it's all everything's independent. It's all the variables are independent, and then after that they all become dependent on one another. So I don't know if it's just it's more application that everything's independent, or it's just foundational. I'm not sure. We covered a lot. We covered a lot. And then it was like my first stats class, there was, I don't know, like 50 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like half by the next class. And then the third one, there was 5 people in there. And 4 of them were bitching the whole time. And I'm like, cool, what's next? Awesome.
Yeah.
I said, nobody enjoyed it. I don't know why. They all complained like no end. And then they're like, oh, this math theory class is great. I'm like, no, it's not. Do you like being tortured? What is wrong with you? Once in a while I see those things pop up in like math groups, and it's just like math PTSD for like it was a class that I took 3 times because I could not figure out what was going on whatsoever. I got a 4.0 in the last time, but it took 3 times to get a 4.0, so that was really really annoying.
Yeah.
No matter how hard I tried, no idea what was going on. I still couldn't tell you what was going on. I know there's words. If you said the words, I'd recognize them. That's about as far as that goes. That's my experience with theory classes. Not my cup
Yeah.
of tea. I like to
Yeah.
model things
That's fair.
like predator. Was it predator prey models? There's an actual name for that. A predator prey model, and we did those in like simulating the bubonic plague
Mm-hmm.
with rats in Paris and stuff, and it's really freaking cool. If I could remember it, that was like a point in my time where I just kind of blacked out a whole chunk of my academic life. I remember sitting in class and I remember that was a thing and it was super cool, but I don't remember the specifics about it. Just my entire academic life in a nutshell. Just blacking out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's happening to me right now. Like I think back very fondly to my old quantum mechanics class, but
Yeah.
I can barely remember anything past the basics.
Yeah, same. Like I thoroughly enjoyed quantum mechanics. That was
Mm-hmm.
really fun and I remember enjoying the textbook even.
Mm-hmm.
And I can picture like things on the board,
Mm-hmm.
but don't ask me to like really explain the depth of
Yeah.
it. I
A
can do
year.
the gloss of it,
Uh-huh.
but that's about it.
I think about a year and a half or so ago, I had this really insane idea to try to derive to try to solve the Schrodinger equation for the hydrogen atom without using any of without using any of the formulas that were handed to us in Griffiths.
Yes, Griffiths. Yes,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
universal text,
so good.
apparently.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. Oh my god. So you just did
Yeah,
that for shits and
like
giggles?
actually, huh?
You're just trying to derive that for shits and giggles or figure it out?
Well, I had the idea to try to derive it. Um, I got to, I started looking up how to derive the Rodriguez formula. It, I got lost instantly.
Yeah. Uh, hmm.
Yeah.
I can't even remember uh, the one physics
It's,
class that I super loved. Special relativity. I love that one.
yeah.
That was fantastic. I love that class, and I still have my textbook from that class too.
We only had, we only did special relativity for like 3 weeks as the very first unit in intro to modern physics, which is like, which is like pre-quantum mechanics, I guess.
Yeah, my school was like we a quarter system again, so we had four
Hmm.
physics classes, whereas the one, two, three, and four, and then you gotta take all the fun shit after that. But we did a couple weeks of special rel at the end of the fourth
Hmm.
one, and then we had its own standalone class to do
Oh,
it after that,
nice.
which was a lot more fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was super great. Everybody struggled hard in it just because I I don't know why we struggled hard. It was kind of one of those, like the joke memes on Facebook
Hmm.
where like if you throw a tomato at this speed, how fast is that bird going on the other side of the planet? And if you like, it was that is
Hmm.
how the tests and everything were. Like we're like, yeah, we got this. This is great. And then you see the questions, and you're like, is that a joke? Really? Yeah. It's very much like that. My astrophysics textbook was the same way
Yeah.
like that. It's like I freaking love astrophysics, and then I got the textbook, and it's like, no, no, I don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't make sense. I still have a giant astro. We had it's called Bob, the big orange book. It's like
Uh-huh.
this giant fat book of astrophysics.
Nice.
I still have it. I mean, that thing could totally knock somebody out pretty well. It is the biggest book I have ever owned, and I've had some really thick physics books. It's a beautiful book. Super
Yeah.
thin, like Bible thin pages.
Hmm.
Yeah, beats Harry Potter.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think the biggest textbook I have was Kreisig, Advanced Engineering Mathematics.
Mm, that
It's
has
got
not
like,
crossed me.
okay. You Yeah, if you go back into the field, I would highly recommend finding a PDF of it because it has like 4 math classes in one textbook.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's rad.
So it's got your differential equations, linear algebra, complex analysis,
Oh,
and statistics, I think.
oh,
Yeah. All of those in one huge textbook.
okay. I mean, that's condensed and
Yeah.
wonderful. I've taken all those. I totally forgot about complex. Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's another thing I erased from my memory.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I don't know. I think was your school in a quarter system or a semester system?
Semester.
I feel like semesters would have been better. Like you have a little bit longer to actually process things, whereas the quarter system was like everything in 10 weeks, and then
Hmm.
immediately dump it from your memory and make room for the next class that had nothing to do with that class. So you have to
Yeah.
make room all the time,
Yeah.
and then you forget really cool things like that predator prey model that I was talking about. I remember loving it. It's gonna drive me absolutely crazy because I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this whole predator prey model of like wolves in Yellowstone, and I don't. But I felt very strongly about it.
Yeah.
I know that
I mean,
much.
I pulled up the Wikipedia page for it. Was it called the Lotka-Volterra equations?
That sounds familiar.
That,
Maybe that might be it.
yeah.
Yeah, that might be something. There was a few different things we did in that class, but that sounds like one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Just two couple differential equations.
It was like a series of them. It might have been that might have been part of it. because it was like a lot of building in this model and using some. I think we had to use MATLAB. Does anybody like MATLAB? No. Did you have to use it?
I
Or did you like
I
it?
okay. So that's what we use for my intro to computational physics course.
Oh.
And it's also what I use to do all the figures for all the papers I've put out so far. It's like
Oh.
all the yeah, it's like all the analysis that I've done in that nanoscience lab was in MATLAB.
Oh.
Um, I highly regret not learning Python beforehand.
Yeah, so that was the thing. My at some of the physics classes that I had, they automatically assumed that you knew Python, and they're like, "Go code it, figure out the results." I was like, "Okay, gotta hurry up and learn Python or something." They didn't use MATLAB, and then I had some math classes kind of use MATLAB, but my professors were always like, "Well, you can do this in MATLAB, or you can do it in this random ass math program that I've never heard of in my life." That has all these plugins for it that I've also never heard of in my life. And so it's like, who is using this? Who? And then I get into stats and they're like, okay, you're going to use, it wasn't R. I had to use R separately. What did we use? There's some other, oh, I'm forgetting now. There's another stats program.
Julia?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
No, it's,
Strata?
no, it's like a 3-letter acronym one, I think.
SAS?
Yes, it is SAS.
Okay.
We had to use SAS and stats, and then my computer stopped running SAS, and I had to hurry up and learn R on everything. It's just like constantly jumping between programs all over the place. And then I was learning Python, or not Python, Java, which nobody in the sciences uses Java. So that was just me going, they want me to learn this because for some reason they want me to learn it.
I used
Nobody's
to be
using it.
pretty good at Java.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know
AP
anybody
computer
that used it.
science. Huh?
I didn't know anybody that used Java.
Outside of a class, no.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
think I guess.
And even my professors were like, Java's a stupid program, and you just need to get past this to learn cooler stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Why is it not its own specialty track
Yeah.
then to learn it? Like, I don't know.
JavaScript. Now that's good to know if you want to do like web dev or something.
Yeah,
But
no.
Java, yeah, but like Java and JavaScript, they like I think they share some of the syntax, but other than that, they're yeah.
Yeah. So that's my experience with programming. It's just lots of random programs and never becoming proficient in any of them. Although trying with Python and R. Python and R are super similar, at least. And they both use Plotly and cool shit like that. So
yeah. I've messed with R when I was reviewing statistics a few months ago. But anything you can do with R, you can do with Python now.
Yeah.
It used to be that R was the go-to thing for statistics. Then everyone started re-implementing all of the R packages in Python. So there's not really any point in learning R anymore, unless you want to, work in psychology or something.
Right. It's just fun. There's that textbook I'll send you the PDF of. It uses R in there, so you can just modify it for Python or whatever.
Yep.
And it'll be just fine. It'll be perfect.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Cool. I learned really awesome shit. Thank you for all of vehicles of various sorts and their AI functions and how people screw up driving.
Oh yeah.
And how to monitor people.
Oh yeah.
There's gotta be some Freudian thing in there about people driving. I swear.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. This was fantastic. I hope that people have been listening to the podcast afterwards quite a bit, actually, it seems. So I hope it helps somebody somewhere understand a little bit more of what people running in their AI functions, or I'm totally messing up all those words. Absolutely. But what's I looked onto your real quick before I end it, but the Armada IQ website, and it's so people can go on there and is it they subscribe per newsletter to learn new things or
Um,
what's going on? I thought I saw a subscribe button on there.
so
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not really pushing anything out for like public consumption quite yet.
Mhm.
We're mostly just heads down Stragan development work right now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, if anyone wants to go ahead and put their email in there, I mean, once we get to a point where we are, doing more public facing work,
Hmm.
then yeah, we'll definitely start start putting that out as well. Um, Yeah, I do check LinkedIn quite a
Okay.
bit if anyone wants to connect with me on there too. Um, Same with Twitter. I don't actually post anything yet, but I do. I don't know. I feel like I should start posting on Twitter
Twitter is
a
where
little
STEM
bit.
happens. I'm telling you, that's where
Yeah.
all the STEM. That was jarring. Sorry, scared me. Yeah, Twitter is where it's all happening. I'm on Twitter purely to stalk STEM people in a non creepy way. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the whole
Yeah. I've
reason that I
actually
got it.
yeah, yeah. I went on Twitter for like an hour a few days ago and wound up finding a whole bunch of ML papers that came out within like the past few days because apparently there are people that just post links to papers that they found interesting.
Oh, well,
Um,
yeah, I see that once in a while.
yeah,
Yeah, I see lots of heated debates about absolutely nothing between scientists on there too. That's always really fun. Like,
yeah,
what color would a cat prefer about something? There's just very odd things on there.
yeah.
It's interesting. It's the hub. It's really cool if you go on there too. One feature I recently realized on Twitter, you can
Mhm.
go on there and you can create like lists of people.
Mm,
Um, so other like people that you recommend. So if there's other people like in your field that you find interesting and someone comes to your profile, they can also go and see those people and follow them as well. So that's
mm.
kind of a cool feature. It's
Interesting.
kind of like having the MySpace top 8, but you can have more than 8.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. I found some like really cool other, STEM type of people to follow that way just by popping on someone's profile that I really like and then it pops up other people that they really like that they suggest that you follow.
Yeah.
And then I got added to a few different types of STEM lists and I was like, "Oh, I'm a nobody." But thank you. I have like
Well,
a
you're
100 followers or something like that. I'm a super nobody.
you're a nobody for now.
Yeah.
Keep doing these, and that won't be the case anymore.
That would be super cool. I mean, that's my whole goal with this is just like all these niche little things that are in STEM, and hopefully it helps other people understand. Like I learned a shit ton, and I know there's people that know less than I do that could learn from it. So I hope it's useful. I hope it gets out there for people.
Yeah, I love explaining stuff. It's fun.
It's fantastic. I love listening to people explain stuff. I am the
Cool.
silent observer. I will just sit there and let people ramble on forever if they feel like totally okay with that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, same, same.
Yay, I can't really ramble on about uh, anything. I don't know what I would ramble on about. Could probably talk people's ear off about climate change, but
There you
I'm
go.
also not a climatologist. I'm just a mathematician who's interested in applied mathematics and climatology. So,
Well, ramble about that.
it'd probably get really boring, but yeah, I could at some point. I could put up really pretty graphs that I make. Everybody loves visuals, right?
Oh yeah.
Visuals are fantastic.
Yep.
Alex, I will put after this episode airs, and then I'll put your Twitter links and your LinkedIn links for people in the description so they can check out and ask you any more questions if they have any.
Sounds good.
Awesome!
Yeah, I'll be
Yay!
happy
Well,
to answer them.
thank you for coming on, and this was super fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I'll see you for our big science chat tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Bye.